Hi there, it's hashtag with Nabuguzi Chwanuka, a forum where you and I have conversations on unraveling social constructs, discuss self-development in line with mental health, and a lot more about the millennial world around us. If you're not hearing this voice for the first time, welcome back to today's episode. To you who is hearing my voice for the first time, I welcome you to this podcast. Listen in. I love reading your comments. I love seeing your feedback, and the engagement is increasing more and more with every single episode. I love that. I love hearing how something made you feel, what it made you think about. And in the previous episode, the pandemic versus mental health that I recorded with seasoned psychologist Linda Nakalawa, Leon said, "This was amazing. Some of the remedies she has provided, like controlling the narrative, are hard to maintain." Alice commented, "Thanks a lot for sharing. Personally, I was helped." Dennis Katalua, "It was brilliant. Loved every bit of it. The questions were relevant and pertinent. The response was great as well. She clearly knows what she's talking about. She's very thoughtful and measured in her responses." So you know what I love about these comments? What I love about these conversations? I love it when you recognize that message that is tailored for you. The whole conversation may not serve you, but the best moment is when you find that smidgen and live like you have got the message that you needed for your life. I missed birthdays as a child. All I had to think about was feasting and presents. But as an adult, self-reflections and assessments keep jumping in every other minute. And those reflections are the inspiration of today's episode. I am going to be sharing with you 27 lessons I've learned in the 27 years of my existence. Lesson number 1. Whoever you are, wherever you are, there is always someone watching. I'm going to speak on this in two lenses. The first lens is keep pursuing your goals. There's always someone watching. The easiest way this can be understood is mostly from a parent's lens, whereby the kids definitely look at their parents as their superpower. Are they called superpower? Superhuman? You guys who watch Batman, what are those people called? Is it superpower, superhuman? I don't know. But the kids look at their parents in that lens of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, you know. When you back down, when you stop pursuing your goals, this has an impact on the child. Yeah. I don't want to, I could, on my part, personally, my mother is the person that is the main reason that I keep pushing. And then the other lens of this lesson is the world is very small. Be mindful about how you treat other people. Your job application could land on the desk of a kid you bullied in school. I've had experiences where I meet people in different places and I meet them again in another space. Every time I see them again, I feel like, oh my God, I feel like some sort of relief. I'm like, oh wow, I'm so glad I didn't treat this person bad where I saw them first. About 2 years ago, we were celebrating my grandfather's birthday, and I was one of the people that were doing the meal servings. And I saw a lady in the line. When she approached me, I asked, "Are you Miss Kagwa?" She said, "Yes." So later on, after the servings, after the meals, we had to do a catch-up on introductions. This lady had taught me. She was my art teacher in O-level. That's between 2006 and 2009. When we were having a catch up moment, I explained to her that she was my teacher, and guess what? She is my aunt. She is a cousin to my mother. For the 4 years I was her student, none of us knew that we had a relation. And she helped me sum this up. She said, teachers have to be mindful about how they relate with students. Imagine I had tortured this child and I come to their home to eat food. So be mindful about how you treat people. Wherever you are, whoever you are, there is always someone watching. Lesson number 2, increase your emotional intelligence. What takes us to places of recognition is our IQ, our ability to have skills that are required to best perform a job. The technical skills are what most interviewers are looking for. What keeps us in those places of influence or jobs and makes us retainable are our soft skills, our emotional intelligence. That's what makes us retainable in positions of influence. So how do you increase your emotional intelligence? I'll not go deep into it. I'll be making a special episode on emotional intelligence. But I'll give you a summary how you increase your emotional intelligence. You'll probably have to run on the internet and help yourself to get an education on this. Practice self-reflection, practice self-regulation, be empathetic, and improve your social skills. Lesson number 3, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot pour from an empty cup. In law school, I was exposed to a legal rule, nemo dat quod non habet, which means that no one gives what they don't have. Take care of yourself, whatever you do. Take care of yourself. Love yourself before you claim to love anyone else. It's the only way you will know how to love another person rightly. I'm going to use an example of mothers in abusive marriages or homes. They often claim that they prioritize staying for their children as a symbol of their love for them. But the fact is, if these mothers knew how best to love themselves, they would know that staying in an abusive marriage is doing a disservice to their children. Where am I getting with this? I'm trying to show you that when you know how to love yourself, you know how to love another person the right way. So why do I say that it's a disservice to the children when a mother stays in an abusive home? Children who are exposed to domestic violence experience emotional, mental, and social damage. The other thing is that most times the people who are in abusive relationships or marriages start to view themselves in the lens of an abuser. They lose their true identity, and trust me, when you never know how to love, and when you lose your identity, you can never know how to love another person when you don't know how you are. When this person comes out and says you are worthless and it becomes your narrative, it's not easy for you to go to someone else and say you love them truly unless you break that narrative. When you see yourself from a place of worthlessness, the only thing that you are going to demand from the other person is you're actually going to be demanding for the love. You're going to be demanding that the other person sees you as worthy. And if they don't, it's still going to be an abusive roller coaster. It's going to be an emotional roller coaster. Abusive roller coaster, does that exist? Yeah. Anyway, so when you lose your identity, you can never know how to love another person. That's why the kind of love these mothers serve to their children is from a place of wreckage. So such children's well-being becomes built on a foundation of brokenness. If these children do not heal from their past, the cycle of abuse continues. Their relations as adults are often characterized by, mental health disorders or abuse and brokenness, to sum it up. What am I saying? For you to best perform as an employer or employee, a parent, a lover, or whatever status you have in life, you need to replenish every now and then. Everyone is better served when you give from an overflow. How do you do this, you may ask? Consciously fill your cup with things that lift your spirit and energize your body. Do this from an overflow. Do this until your cup overflows. Serve from an overflow, not from your cup. Lesson number 4. Be kind to yourself. I found a quote on Facebook that said, "You will never speak more to anyone than you speak to yourself in your head." And I relate to this so much. As an ambivert, I have so many conversations on my own than I have conversations with any other person. But I think any other person, whatever version you are, whether extroversion or an introversion, we always have conversations with ourselves. How you speak to yourself directly affects your mental well-being. Your mental well-being affects your general well-being. Take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. Lesson number 5. Self-love is a journey, not a destination. To learn to love yourself is a journey worth every step of the way. It requires that you embrace the things you perceive as flaws. Oftentimes we imagine that it's an instant achievement but I can assure you that it can take more than 2 years or even a decade for someone to holistically embrace themselves. As human beings, we all have our insecurities. Everyone, by the way, including the person you admire. And that's because we are constantly thrown into we are always thrown into a constant search for perfection. But when you learn that you are imperfectly perfect, there won't be a need for you to dwell on your insecurities. Love yourself every new day because your insecurities are sheer byproducts of societal narratives. Create your own narrative. Lesson number 6. Practice gratitude. Practice gratitude. A study says that benefits of practicing gratitude are endless. Happify.com, a website, suggests that when you regularly practice gratitude by taking time to notice and reflect upon the things you're thankful for, you experience positive emotions, feel more alive, sleep better, express more passion and kindness. For me, gratitude has helped me to be present in the moment other than pondering on the past and worrying about the future. It has taught me to recognize blessings and that I'm not entitled to someone's politeness or someone's kindness. The most important of all lessons I've gotten from being grateful is that I am grateful. I've learned to be grateful for my problems. The most trying times in my life have rather made me more flexible, and from that I gained a sense of adaptability. They made me tap into my inner growth and my bigger spirit. So how do you practice gratitude? Do not wait for momentous occasions to express gratitude in all your days' experience. Do not wait for momentous occasions to express gratitude. In all your days' experiences, be thankful to the shop attendant after a good border ride. Thank the border guy for his services. Thank the security guard after they properly search your property on your way into the mall or anywhere. Whoever ensures your safety, thank them. Thank each and everyone for the services rendered to you. The waitress the waitress who served you right and ensured that you enjoyed your stay in the cafe or restaurant. Thank them for the good experience. The cleaners at your workplaces. There's so many people that you are supposed to be thankful for. There's so many things that you are supposed to be thankful for. Being thankful breaks down the spirit of entitlement and does make you go about your day with positive emotions. Having a constant reminder that something good just happened boosts your mood throughout the day. I've been reminded of my worthiness through gratefulness. Every morning before I open my eyes fully, the first sentence in my mind that my mind structures is that, thank you, Jesus, for the new day. I've learned that I should be thankful for the love that I receive instead of feeling like I'm entitled to it. Last but not least, being thankful is key to your mental health. When you feel like you're in a space of depression, run down a list of 20 things you're grateful for. By the way, you don't have to even wait until you're grateful. When you're practicing gratitude, maybe find a journal that you can keep writing about the things that you're grateful for. When you have a good experience, even if it's just for 2 minutes, be grateful for it. Write it down and read these things at the end of the day. You're going to go about your life very much with a lighter mood, a lighter heart, and a happier soul. Lesson number 7, practice self-discipline. I struggle with this one sometimes. But since it's a learned skill, I'm on my way to achieving it. I'm trying every other day to maintain my discipline. The ability to do what you're supposed to be doing is such a hard thing, especially in this millennial world where our phones keep chiming every other second. Twitter is here, there's a Twitter, there's a Facebook, there's a WhatsApp. All those things keep making our phones busy. And at the time when you're supposed to be completing a certain document and handing it over to the person to the person who is supposed to be getting it, you're actually busy texting on WhatsApp. Managing to maintain focus amidst all these distractions is a desirable skill. It's a work in progress for me. I'm learning how to put off my immediate comfort in favor of my long-term success, and you can do it too. Lesson number 8. Cultivate a sense of self-accountability. This one right here has been very important in my life. When you have a well-developed sense of self-accountability, you are honest with yourself and are answerable and responsible for what you do or say. You have the ability to look beyond the immediate moment, to consider the consequences and gauge if you are willing to pay for those consequences. This is so far the best thing I ever decided to do for myself. I've become more mindful in almost everything I do, and it has both helped me to be a better version of myself and has also protected me from my once in a while reckless decisions. Previously, I always made sure I'd create a valid reason for my failings, and I swear I kept failing. Even when on the inside I wanted to be better, the moment I stood out and validated my failings, I kept failing. But taking responsibility for my shortcomings has so far been a great investment in my journey of self-development. I could never want to go back to a place of validating my shortcomings. Lesson number 9, this one right here. Atonement plants seeds of forgiveness. They say sorry is a magic word. When you say sorry, you acknowledge the harm you have committed. What do you do next after the acknowledgement? You endeavor to do right by the person you have wronged, because acknowledgement without reparations is not enough. For any restoration to occur in any kind of relationship, whether it be with God or people, atonement is paramount. For instance, we all know that God is a merciful God. Our God is a merciful God. But we find ourselves in spaces or moments where we abuse His mercy. Every time we care less to do right by Him, we abuse that mercy. We take Him for granted. Because when you come on out and say, "Oh, sorry, God, I harmed another human being," right? And then you do it the following day, they say, "Sorry, God, I harmed another human being." What are you doing about the sorry? What are you changing? When you have a spouse and your spouse constantly tells you that they don't like the things that you do, and you just keep saying sorry, and you go about your day doing the exact same thing that you acknowledge to have caused harm to your spouse, what does that mean? Do you even care to repair or restore the relationship that you have? Sorry does not repair relationships. Atonement does that. Your actions after acknowledging the harm committed affects the other person's decision to forgive you. Lesson number 10. Invest in finding your inner self. From the time of birth, we all get identified in a particular category. And the first identity we all got at birth was that of a child. No one was born a lawyer, no one was born a mother, no one was born an employer or CEO. We are often reminded about our duties and roles every now and then in those particular identities. To every stage that we graduate, identities are given. And every stage comes with socially defined values and expectations, whether as a mother, a daughter, a husband, an employee, an employer, or even a friend. All of them come with socially defined values. But when all these identities are stripped away, who are you fundamentally? Can you find yourself? Can you define yourself without the social identities? It is possible to structure your whole life based on the various identities imposed on you, but when the universe strips you of these multiple identities, when you are no longer a sister to your brother, a husband to your wife, an employee to your employer, a friend to your friend, or even a mother to your children, you are going to get lost because you have little self-awareness of who you are on the inside. When all your life is structured based on these identities, you are going to lose who you really are. When you find yourself in a position whereby you barely articulate your visions, goals, and beliefs beyond what these identities demand, use every minute to discover who you really are. Lesson number 11. This one right here. Prayer works. Prayer works. This is going to be the very last lesson for part 1. We're going to jump into part 2. Create a prayer that you connect with or uplifts your spirit. Now, I don't know how other people work around prayer, but as a Catholic, and what usually disconnects people from God in the Catholic Church are the prayers that are outlined for us. The recital barely makes us, if we don't really understand what prayer is, if we feel like it's just about a recital, it disconnects us from a spiritual communication with God. But when you create a prayer that connects you, that connects with your spirit and uplifts it, you do not have to find the need of jumping from one religion to another. Personally, I love songs. When it comes to worship songs, I feel a deeper meaning of every word, and this makes me tap into my spiritual existence. I turned CeCe Winans' Jesus Take the Wheel into my quick prayer. When I am not confident, Jesus take the wheel. Each time I get into a car, Jesus take the wheel. I've asked him to take the wheel in moments when I felt like I couldn't understand what I was studying. Jesus took the wheel when I felt like the world was caving in on me. When I look at prayer, I consider it as something so central to my spiritual foundation. I have prayed for so much in my life, and I have gotten so many answers I sought. I've prayed at my lowest and in my fearful days. Now let me share a testimony with you guys. I think it's only Eunice who knew about this. Eunice is my friend. So in about 2015 or 2016, I had a call with my grandfather. I had a conversation with my grandfather, and he told me that he had a scheduled surgery in India. I was not happy that he was going to get healing. I was actually worried that he was going to return back dead, because man, you guys, we have all the stories about old people going into theater rooms. Not even just old people, we have all those people being taken to the theaters alive, and they come out dead. To think that he is even going far away where I cannot be with him by his side, I was thrown in a huge wave of anxiety. I was unsettled. Every minute I thought about him flying, I was like, he's traveling to his final destination. Yeah? Those guys who watch Final Destination. Every time I thought about him flying, I saw him flying to his final destination. So what did I resort to? I started praying. I didn't believe that my prayer was going to work. I really didn't. But I tried. The same way how you feel like your parent might not accept what you are requesting. That's exactly what I felt. But then you just try. That's exactly how I felt when I was praying for this trip to be cancelled. Yeah. I asked God to cancel the trip. I told him I want my grandfather to heal. But if he is going to travel to India and come back dead, cancel that trip. And I was serious about it. I was serious about my prayer. I was intentional about it, because I don't know how many times I say that prayer in a day. Jeez, I was so scared. I told God I meant what I meant. I told him I wasn't ready for his death. I wasn't taking it. There was a lot going on in my head at that time. And the death of my grandfather was the last thing that I would want. I don't know. I told God I wasn't ready for his death. And I was sure. I was serious. I was dead serious about it. So one night I called him. That's like past midnight. That's when you can easily get him on phone. I called him and I asked about how far he had gone with the preparations. And he said, we cancelled that. The doctors found that there's a way it can be the treatment can be worked on while here in Uganda. I don't need to travel. and I don't need the surgery. You guys, I couldn't believe it. You see, when I called him, I had just oh my god, I'm even emotional right now. I feel like I just got the news. When I called him that night, I had just said my evening prayers for him. I was so desperate. My goodness. The moment I got off the phone, or even when I was still on the phone, I cried. I couldn't believe it. I cried so much that then when I looked at my prayer book, the prayer book had a Divine Mercy image, and I touched the image and said, Jesus, I know this is you. This is you doing your work. Prayer does work. Whatever your faith is, whoever your higher being is, communicate with him. And you can only communicate with him through prayer. I have another prayer that I want to leave you as a gift at the end of this part 1. That's the Serenity Prayer. I find it as one of the most powerful prayers. I use it in my times of when I feel like maybe I'm in a dilemma. Yeah. You may look up I usually use the shorter version because sometimes maybe I'm on a border. This is when I say it. When I'm walking into a room to talk to someone superior, this is what I say to gain confidence. So I usually use the shorter version, but you may look up the fuller version. Even when the thing with prayer, it's about faith. Let me not say it. I think it's about faith, the things that you believe in when you pray. So even when I say the shorter version, it still grants me fortitude. And I would like to give it to you as a gift. And I want you to come back and tell me that it worked for you. I want you to say it believing. I want you to say it with faith. So we're going to say it together. I'm going to be very slow and you will repeat after me. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Let's say it again. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I look forward to seeing you again in part 2. You have reached the end of part 1 of my 27 lessons in 27 years of my existence. If you have found value in this show, I'd appreciate a rating and subscription on whatever platform that you're using to listen to this podcast. Or better yet, tell a friend about the show. Share the link that you have used to listen to this podcast. That will help me too. And because you are worthy, I shall be sharing the rest of the 16 lessons this week. Because it is my birthday, this is my present to you. I'll be sharing all the 16 lessons. I'll be sharing with you more than one episode this week. Until then, I remain yours truly, Nabguzi Chwanuka.